Hello, thank you for joining me today again on the Church History Trail. And where we are is we're actually down at Gideon's Green at the White House. And what's in front of me is actually a lagoon, and it's a man-made lagoon. And as you can see, it's just mud at the minute, but when the tide comes in, then it will be covered with water. And as you can see there, it says welcome to Gideon's Green. Now I'm going to do a wee video on Gideon's Green, but before I do that, I want to do one of what's known as the White House. Now this is not the White House in America. This is the White House here in Belfast, and records actually show that the White House dates back to the 16th century, and General Schomburg welcomed King William III here to this fortified house in 1690, and that's the house there in front of us. And we'll be able to go inside there. And this site here, not the actual house, but the house is later, but the site here actually has a connection to William's Paymaster General, and I'll talk a wee bit about that later. And as you can see there, it's Connersby House, and so it was named actually after William's Paymaster General. And so this is the ancient house here then. And of course, William himself landed at Carrickfergus on the 14th of June 1690. And he rode to the ancient quay, which is near the White House, which actually the motorway has actually destroyed, because when they made the M5, then it actually goes across the old quay. And I'll be able to show you that a wee bit later. And so he actually rode to the White House here, where some of his army had landed, and of course he met General Schomburg here then. And as you can see, it's only open on a Tuesday, and it's open from 10 to half 2, but you can see it's relived the history. One of the oldest buildings in Ireland, the White House, dates back over 400 years. And it played a significant role in the campaign of William III to defeat James II on Irish soil, and it's a pivotal event in European history. I managed to get that out just about. And so there you are. You can see the White House, and of course it's a tale of three kings, as you can see. And those three kings is King James II, King William III, and of course Louis XIV, who was the King of France. Now, after falling into disrepair in the 1800s, the building was actually, believe it or believe it not, it was later used as a gospel hall until 1997, or at least they used the Sunday school in here. The gospel hall had their Sunday school in here, and there's a wee bit of history actually on that. And they moved across the road then, and so the gospel hall is actually nigh in here. As you can see, it says White House Gospel Hall. And then it says believers gathered to the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. And so that's now the Gospel Hall, but they used this building here, so they did until 1997. So today it's a museum, and it's one of the oldest houses in Ireland. It's thought actually to be the oldest, dating from 1569. So very impressive, isn't it? Of course, it was a plantation bawn, a fortified house, and it was given to a Mr. Brunker in 1574 by Elizabeth I in recognition of his military service in the Spanish Wars. And it was also included in the area granted to Sir Arthur Chichester by the Queen, and was also, well, we think it was by, I'm not sure if it was by Queen Elizabeth or not, because the date that I'm given is 1604 for that, but certainly Elizabeth died in 1603, so there's a wee bit of confusion concerning that. But it was occupied by George Martin, who was the sovereign of Belfast in 1649. And Captain Brunker lived here from about 1574. Now, the ancient quay, as I say, it was destroyed in the late 1970s whenever they built the M5 motorway. And as I say, then Connersby House, the paymaster general, actually that house there is named after him. And how we know all this is because of William III's diarist, personal assistant, who was called Gideon Bonaparte. He was a French Huguenot, or in other words, a French Protestant. Of course, many of the Huguenots had to flee France because of Louis' edict, Louis XIV, whenever he introduced the Edict of Nantes. And so many of them fled not only to England and Europe, but also to Ireland. And so here we are inside the building, which is quite amazing. You can see a saddle there of the period. And so there's a memorial stone actually dedicated to Gideon, the Huguenot soldier. And it's actually on a patch of ground in a small park, which is actually named after him. And so it's close to here. And so I hope to do a wee bit of filming there as well. And so it was him that recorded the landing near here of the European army that accompanied King William III to Ireland. And so William's army would then make its way to the Boyne, where they would fight at the Battle of the Boyne on the 1st of July 1690, whenever King William III defeated his father-in-law, who was actually King James II. So there's a wee bit of history, and it's a fantastic place, there's no doubt about it. A lot of history here, and this is the original fireplace, or baking oven, should I say. As you can see, absolutely fantastic. And there you can see a wee photo of what it would be like back in the day. Wee painting. So great to have this, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Some old coins. That's a wee musket ball there, and also I think that's a cannon. Yeah, it's a medieval cannon, post-medieval cannonball, 17th to the 19th century. Pretty amazing. There's more artifacts. So this is one of the towers. You can see the other tower there, which is now basically a toilet they've made that into. So quite amazing. So I'm going to read a wee bit of the history here. It gives you a wee detail of the history. It's the White House timeline. So 1574, Major Brunker gifted the White House by Elizabeth I. 1604 becomes part of Sir Arthur Chichester's estate. However, he would never have lived here. And one source says that it was actually Elizabeth gave it to him, but that was in 1604, and she would have been dead because she died in 1603. So as I say, a bit of confusion there. But 1636, Thomas Boyd in ownership. 1649, later Hercules Davies is recorded as having paid taxes on 4 hearths here. George Martin in ownership. And then King William III visits the White House. 1690, Sir William Franklin in ownership. 1839, the first ordnance survey of the White House. 1899, William Henry McLaughlin owns the White House as part of his Macedon estate. And the White House becomes a gospel hall in the early 1900s. 1920, upon the death of McLaughlin, the White House is left to R.D. Gordon and Alexander Hamilton. 1996, the Gospel Hall congregation moves across the road to a new building. 1997, Ulster Gordon villages on behalf of Abbey Historical Society and ownership. And in 2000, White House Preservation Trust is formed. 2011, White House reopens after refurbishment. So there you are, and there you can see the White House Gospel Hall. So if you want to read a wee bit of the history of the Gospel Hall here in this place, then just pause the video and you can do that. I won't take the time to read all that out to you, but you can see there where the window is and where that's where the Sunday school met, and you can see that. So I'm going to show you that, because that's actually this part here. That's the window that you've seen in the picture, and then the chairs for the Sunday school would have been all laid out here. And you can see that's basically where we are. Here is the White House, and you can see right down to the quay. Now the M5 motorway cuts right across here, so it does. So in doing that, they destroyed the quay, unfortunately, but at least the White House is still here. And there's a bit of history. Siege of Derry and the Battle of Newtown Butler. There's a few swords there. Excellent. I think that's actually an umbrella rack, but they're using it for a sword rack. And there's William arrives in Ireland, visits the White House. There's a great wee photograph there of him meeting General Schomburg. Now, this drum here, this is what's known as a lambeg drum. But this lambeg drum here is actually unique, and I'll tell you for why. Because this was actually made for the White House, and it's got loads of history on it from Northern Ireland. So I'm going to try very gently with it and show you some of that. So there's a Northern Ireland player, and I'm not really into football now, so somebody who is will know who that player is. But he's definitely a Northern Ireland player. There's a Northern Ireland team, and that's actually the ladies' Northern Ireland team. Let me see what else we have here. There's Tato Castle, welcome to my castle, and that's in Connersby. I don't know wee video outside that. That's Van Morrison, the singer, and that's, oh, what's her name? Mary, I forget her second name and I shouldn't. Mary Peters. She was a well-known athlete here in Northern Ireland. So let's see who else we have here now. Yes, so we'll go around this side now and do the other side. So this was specially made for this. You'll not see a lambeg drum like this anywhere except in the White House, because it was made especially for the White House. So I'm going to try and turn it a wee bit. And they've even got COVID represented in it, as you can see. My goodness. So they even have COVID represented. There's Geordie Best. Pelly says that that George Best was the greatest footballer ever. So I don't know, that's what Pelly said. And that's one of the, oh my goodness, Joey Dunlop. You'd easily know I'm not into sports, wouldn't you? And that's the glory of the old made new. So that's, oh, I can't remember his name either. But anyway, I think that's, I can't remember their names, but you'll know who they are. you know who they are anyway. Now this guy here, he actually, there's a monument of him actually, down at Lisburn, because he invented the defibrillator, and his name is Frank Partridge. So he's on that as well. Kate, that is, I've remembered now, Kate and William. My goodness, how could I forget that? And then there's the Queen and her husband. So that's some drum, isn't it? It certainly is. There's no doubt about it. And there's a couple other wee things there. And so that's Prince Philip's walkabout, Harland and Wolff, as you can see. So quite amazing to have this this drum, and it's a lambeg drum. And there's more history. There's a painting, and that's the Duke of Schomberg and William III prior to the Battle of the Boyne, 1690. And then there's loads of history there as well. And that's Patrick Sarsfield. He was one of the finest Jacobite cavalry generals. There's the Jacobite Dragoons. There's this Huguenot cavalry at Dunor. And I've done a wee video on Dunor, if you remember. So fantastic to have this. I'll have to remember and put that drum back in now when I'm finished. And there's a whole timeline there on the different generals and such. That's Mary of Modena. I used to call it Medina until, if you remember, the gentleman who done the tour of the church in Cork, and he gave me the correct pronunciation. So quite amazing. It's a tale of three kings, as you can see. James II, Louis XIV, and King William III. And that's a great wee book there. I have that book. So it's a fantastic wee book by Ian Adamson. 1690, William and the Boyne. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, here's somebody going to talk to us. He's a wee bit hoarse, so he is. He definitely is. Now this here is actually the original fireplace from 1690. So quite amazing, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. So that's original. So it is. That's the original fireplace from 1690. So brilliant. And that's the loo now, but it used to be the blacksmith's. So it did. That's the tower. That's the other tower that I showed you. So we're going to go upstairs now. There's a wee model you can see of the White House. And so I'm going to take you outside. That's the Ian Adamson suite, and they do lectures in there. They also do, you can rent that out for church groups and such. So I'm going to take you out and have a wee look here. And it says here, George Martin. It says the White House, even though built by English settlers in the early 1600s, Scots like George Martin lived here at White House. Excuse me. Martin came to Ulster around 1633, was elected Burgess of Belfast in 1644 and Sovereign in 1649. He was on the list of prominent Ulster Scots, proposed to be deported to the west of Ireland by Cromwell, Oliver Cromwell, in 1653. Now, here's something that's interesting. Two of Martin's descendants were actually Henry Joy and Mary Ann McCracken. So that's interesting, isn't it? So he was related, George Martin was actually related to Henry Joy and Mary Ann McCracken. They were his descendants. And Cromwell then, he was deported to the west of Ireland by Cromwell, of course. Oliver Cromwell, there's a wee story about Oliver Cromwell when he was a kid. Did you know that Oliver Cromwell was actually taken by a monkey, a wee monkey? The wee monkey took Oliver while he was a baby, and the monkey was on the roof with him. They managed to get him down, so they did. But that's a story not many people would know about Oliver Cromwell, that the monkey took him and climbed onto the roof of the house, and they had to try and get him down. So this is one of the towers then, and we were down below. We were down below here, and I showed you inside. There you can see the musket holes, musket loops. And that's that baking place that I showed you. Do you remember when we were down below? And that must have been a window of some sort. And if you see red brick and you're wondering, well, what's red brick doing in a 400-year-old house? Well, some of the brethren, what they done was, when the brethren owned this, they strengthened it with red brick. And so that's why some of it has red brick. There you can see a stalactite coming down. And that was here the last time I was here, and it's still here. So it's good to actually see that that's still here. Again, that must have been another window there at some stage as well. Now, this bastion here, this tower, you'll be able to get a good wee view here. As you can see, there's the Gospel Hall across the road, the new one. That's the tower that we've just come out of, and that's that house that I mentioned earlier, and it's actually named after, and it's actually built on the site of William's paymaster general. So pretty amazing. And then you can see the lagoon just down there, and you can see the sea there, and that is actually the sea there, just between the hedges. If you can see that. So you might be able to hear the traffic, and you'll be able to see the traffic there through the trees. So basically what that is, that's the M5. And you can see the traffic going along there as well. So that's the M5. And the M5 cuts right across where that ancient quay was. So the White House would have went down from here, right down by that house in front of us, right down over the M5. There was no M5 there then, of course, and that house wasn't there either, and straight down to the ancient quay, and that's where a lot of William's men and troops were landed. And then that's down where Schomberg met King William III. But as I say, the road now goes right across it, the M5. And if I remember rightly, that paymaster general was called Connersby, if I remember rightly. I would have to check my notes again on that, but certainly it was William's paymaster general, and that wee house there was named after him. So thanks for watching, and if you enjoy the channel, then please like and subscribe, and also hit the notification bell, and then every time I upload a video, then you will be notified. So thanks for watching, and God bless.